Hi guys, and thank you once again for attending this webinar. My name is Sridhar and I lead the sales and marketing workforce at ResellerClub. I'm sure you all will agree with me when I say that the last couple of weeks have been interesting to say the least. There has been a price hike that has come into effect by some of the GTLD registries. As a result of that, we've increased our prices as well, and I'll agree if you tell me that that announcement of our increase in prices came as probably the most surprising from all our recent announcements. And lastly, the announcement of our product pipeline, especially the new ad-powered rev share products, and I'll cover that in a short while. So given all this, I thought it would be best for us to actually get over here and try and discuss the rationale behind all this. I believe that there should be as much transparency as possible in our decisions, because at the end of the day, I understand that the decisions we take over here are going to impact your business as well. Once again, if anybody has any specific concerns that you all would like to discuss with me, you all could email me at sridhar.l@resellerclub.com or my team at sales@resellerclub.com or webinar@resellerclub.com. These email addresses in fact will also be available later on during this presentation. Moving on, I've actually jotted down or broken up the entire presentation into three different categories. The first one will broadly cover the domains market, well, specifically the GTLD domains market. I'll then discuss the price hike implications and how this impacts all registrars including us. And then of course, what are RC developers up to currently? What is in the pipeline? What are the new products that we're working on? What are the next few development cycles going to be all about? Everything will be discussed towards the end. Let's actually start off with insights to the domain industry. So while many today still believe that the most basic web infrastructure service, that is domain name service, continues to witness an upsurge within its category, it might not necessarily be the case with the GTLD segment specifically. So to my mind, the GTLDs have at least reached a stage where consolidation becomes the key. And this is pretty normal within any industry today. So even when we're looking at an increase year after year in numbers, the rate of growth is definitely declining. For example, the growth in 2006 was close to 30% in the GTLD segment, in the overall volumes of GTLDs, and this year we're actually looking at about a 20% increase. Now, I would say that this might also be one of the reasons for the registries looking at a price hike as well, because at the end of the day, year after year, the kind of increase that we're looking at in volumes of GTLD domain names, the percentage increase year after year is actually on the decline. So given the future that we're looking at, the focus now needs to shift from volumes or achieving volumes to optimization of the current volumes. So why do I say that? Well, it's common knowledge that a domain name today is probably the only product which serves as a basic entry point into the internet market, and which can be further exploited by resellers to sell other high profit margin products like web hosting, digital certificates, and web designing, of course, if you're a web designer. So domain names are considered extremely important among resellers, but they're not entirely profit earning products. And in fact, I'd even stick my neck out over here and say that it is also not the only aspect that customers are generally looking out for. So first of all, domain names today is not your primary profit earning product. It is probably the one product that allows you to earn better profits on other products. At the same time, it is not the only aspect that customers are looking out for, because today's customers understand that a slight increase in pricing also results, can also be because of the kind of quality of services offered. So a customer is looking for better support, is looking for a better system, is looking for better products, and is looking for a quality experience overall. Also, the increased competition has further affected the profit margins attained through the sale of domain names or through the sale of GTLD domain names. So now the reseller has to draw a fine line between earning profits and retaining that customer, which in this age of marketing is very, very critical. This in effect has also given rise to several different kinds of marketing innovations, which include promotions, various promotions to boost sales, offering a suite of value-added services which are profitable for both the resellers as well as their customers. Services like email hosting, DNS management, and other applications are bundled along with the domain name, and this has pretty much become a standard protocol. So today, I actually know of resellers that actually sell their domain names at 4 times even of their cost price, of their original cost price, to customers, and are extremely successful because customers believe that they are getting several other value-added services, or they are getting several other benefits for those domain names, which actually compensates for the kind of high pricing that we're looking at. Now, this to a certain extent has actually enabled the reseller to cover up for the higher prices and bring about better margins, leaving the customers in a much happier situation. Just as I said, the customer believes that the pricing that the price that he's actually paying for a domain name is worth every penny of it, just because he's receiving several other benefits or several other value added services that he or she can actually use effectively. In fact, needless to say that the domain name industry took a huge blow when most of the GTLD registries decided to increase their pricing in 2007 and again this year as well. So it was bad enough that most of the GTLD registries had increased their pricing last year, and again this year as well. Nearly all of the GTLD registries have looked at a price increase. In fact, the only one that has not increased its pricing in the last 2 years has been .name. So they in fact are still priced at the same pricing that they were available at back when .coms were actually available for $6. So now, with the eventual increase in the prices every year by most of the registries, the whole demographic of the internet industry is on the verge of another change. In fact, from what I understand, several registries have always looked to increase charges, but only got this opportunity last year when contracts with ICANN came under revision. It was then that ICANN decided to allow all GTLD registries to actually increase their pricing by a certain percentage once every year. In fact, as I even mentioned earlier, the decline in the growth rate of domains could have actually been one of the reasons for registries to consider an increase. Now, along with the hike, the registrar also has to bear an ICANN fee and several other incidental costs, which include development and infrastructure costs, people costs, etc. After incurring all these expenses, after bearing all these costs, a registrar barely manages to break even in this kind of a competitive industry. In fact, given all this, it's pretty clear that most registrars today are actually playing with razor thin margins out here. As you'd understand, last year when the pricing of GTLDs was increased by the registry, it forced nearly all the registrars to alter their pricing structure accordingly, and that's pretty natural because the kind of margins that a registrar keeps, as I mentioned, is very low. So if we had actually continued to sell at the same prices that we did post the registry price hike, then we'd actually be incurring losses and would probably not even be able to offer you the kind of services that we can today.